One point that has come to me and stayed with me is from multiple arenas and instances around our work is how often one speaks of independent external consultants and the importance that is attached to that. And you know, I've come to believe, having myself been in multiple roles around evaluation as a commissioner, as a consultant, as an evaluator, as a subject of evaluation too. But I've come to have great trouble with the notion of independence being embedded in external consultants. You know, I think consultants are a great resource. We need them, we use them for so many useful things. There can be people who are very professional, can be people who are very intelligent, and people who are very committed. Many virtues can be held in consultants, but independence isn't one of them. And I think it's important to understand how the professionalism of the consultant is not associated with principally with that of independence, but that of being responsive to the one who is asking them to do a piece of work. To me, this is something quite profound, and I feel salient to the sort of policy and governance issues that surround the evaluation function in many of our organizations, and I'm increasingly discomforted by seeing the appearance of in sort of policy and foundational materials or in discourse that we think of independence as being upheld by the very mere fact of being an external consultant. It's a misnomer which I think we should unclog once and for all. It would do a great service to the evaluation community. Also on the subject, broadly speaking, of independence. And in some circles and at some times, I hear people speaking of independence and as being associated with what is to all effects ignorance of subject matter. That somehow the highest virtue of independence is that of having no association with the subject matter. Again, I think this is a kind of a misnomer. The relevant issue is that of not being in the reporting line, or being removed from lines of authority, which is something quite different altogether than that of affinity with the subject matter. The more clueless you are, somehow, the better evaluator you are. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's another reflection, so speaking to independence and evaluation function. I have another point today triggered from some communications today on the lonely life of an independent evaluator. It is that we rarely get great credit for our work. When we do a good job and we point towards organizational change needs or opportunities, it's often the case that those who may need to make those changes, even when they recognize and undertake those changes, they wouldn't necessarily attribute it to the evaluation. People would like to think of it as ideas that they have then come up with themselves. People hesitate to assign original, deeper thinking to evaluators who to them, for all practical purposes, came parachuting in from nowhere. If they bring good ideas, people will appropriate those ideas and make it their own, and that is fine. Then the evaluator has done his or her job, but it won't be for their credit. On suggested education training for aspiring evaluators, in the development arena, what I invariably say to young aspiring colleagues, people who are at the beginning of their career, I hesitate to say, I think some colleagues might not like me for saying this either, but I think the techniques of evaluation is not the hardest. What I invariably guide young colleagues to do is get experience from the field, and in doing so, I try to guide them to the shittiest places. The sooner they can get their fingers dirty, and in the less comfortable circumstances, the better. I say to young aspiring ones, go to peacekeeping missions if you can. Go as a volunteer if you can. Go associate with an NGO, but do go to the real field. We at headquarters, sometimes people talk of they've been on to the field on some mission, but all they've done is been to airports and fancy hotels and government offices, and they, if they go outside of those, it's only ever so brief, and often with stage ceremonial engagement with people. I believe that as certainly as UN staff, no one should have the option of spending their whole career in any of the headquarter locations. I think it's a matter of credibility of our understanding. I think those who have grown up or spent time in the real field know how those who haven't have missed out on some profound level of understanding what the development is all about. And so on training then, yeah, that's the best training you can have, and even in the face of discomforts, often professional satisfaction is greater. I sometimes say that the professional satisfaction in the UN arena is directly proportional to the distance from headquarters that you go. I for one, believe that the most crucial aspect of evaluation is that of exercising judgment, over and above that of applying technique. I'd rather think of evaluation as being a practice of judgment rather than an exercise of science. Personally, I think we, as a community as a whole, we be erring in projecting ourselves as being principally derived from scientific research methods and practices. Needless to say, we should uphold standards of fidelity to testimony and vigilance with data, and we should understand bias. I don't think we have the option of offering objectivity or truth. Impartiality, yes. Impartiality above all, by way of removal from interests of those in authority.